Hello, and welcome to this webinar intended for the Canadian construction industry. Today's topic is apprenticeship hiring and incentives explained. This webinar is being brought to you by the magazines at Annex Business Media that serve the Canadian construction industry. My name is Doug Picklyk. I'm the editor of Heating, Plumbing, and Air Conditioning, or HPAC Magazine. I'd like to thank our two sponsors supporting this free webinar today. Avetta, makers of the Avetta Software as a Service platform that helps clients manage supply chain risk and helps their suppliers to become more qualified for jobs. And we're also being sponsored by GC Pay. Since 2003, GC Pay has offered a paperless alternative to construction billing, and their system mimics the process of most current workflows for accounting, project management, contract administration, and compliance departments. Thank you both for your support for this instructional session that we're having today. Okay, so here we go. With me here today is Stephanie Shrum, project manager with the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum. The CAF is one of the mandated supporting partners of the federally funded Canadian Apprenticeship Service grant program. And Stephanie will be sharing all the details you need to know about this important program with us today. And also with us is Brett Butler, the owner of Aaron Machine Shop in Calgary. Brett is an employer who has been through the Canadian Apprenticeship Service process, and he's here to share some of his experiences with us following Stephanie's presentation. Stephanie?
Thank you, Doug. And thank you so much for having me and for putting this all together. I'm so excited to be here today, and I hope that you all find this information to be helpful and useful to you as you move forward, recruiting folks in the skilled trades. Just to tell you a little bit about what it is that we do here at the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum. We are a not-for-profit organization who is member-based, and what we do is provide a forum for all stakeholders associated with the skilled trades and apprenticeship to be able to come together, to have conversation, to discuss best practices. We do a great deal of research into best practices, the labor market information that you might want to have in order to make good decisions as you're moving forward in the hiring process. We also do a lot of advocacy around the skilled trades to ensure that that Canada is representative of the best that we have in terms of skilled trades and in terms of apprenticeship. And if there are some gaps, we really look to try and fill some of those gaps so that you're really having a positive experience within the skilled trades. And to that end, we also now have a program available called the Canadian Apprenticeship Service. So I'm just going to share my screen here to tell you just a little bit more about that program. Let me get it queued up here. Doug, can you just give me a thumbs up if you see Canadian Apprenticeship Service and a person wearing a hard hat? Perfect. Okay, so this program started, actually, it was approved back in June, and the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, or CAF, as I'm going to call us moving forward, is one of 19 what I'll call service providers across Canada who are providing this program to employers like yourselves, so small to medium enterprises. We actually got started in September, so we officially launched September 20th of 2022, and we're coming to the end of our first fiscal year, which is actually tomorrow, and we have 1 year left. So we have our next fiscal year starts on Monday, and we'll go until March 31st of 2024. So you still have 1 full year to participate in this program. So let me tell you just a little bit about who it is that we're working with. So CAF, when we got this funding, decided, you know what, there are experts in the field who already know what they're doing and who are exceptional at what they do. So rather than reinventing the wheel, we decided to partner with 5 organizations who we felt were going to be best equipped to help deliver this program. We chose to partner with the Aboriginal Apprenticeship Board. Their role is to ensure that Indigenous organizations and stakeholders across Canada are aware of the program, have access to it, and sort of know how to get involved with both this service and the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, should they choose to go in that direction. We've partnered with the Canadian Construction Association, who's largely in charge of ensuring that construction associations and employers across Canada are aware of the program. So they do a lot of our advertising, they do our media campaign, all of those things go through them. And they've done an exceptional job getting us out there, which we really appreciate. We're also working with Build Force Canada and Skill Plan to provide the training that we have available through this program as well. So as we go through the presentation today, you're going to see that we have some complimentary training that's available to both you and your apprentices, as well as your mentors. So we'll go through that in a little bit, but Build Force Canada and Skill Plan are the folks that are providing those training programs. And then lastly, we're working with apprenticesearch.com, who does all of the registration piece. And they also have a matching platform to get employers and apprentices connected through this program. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But those are the partners that we're working with for this program. You may be wondering, well, if they're doing all the work, what do you do, Kath? Our job is to connect with the funder. So Employment and Social Development Canada, or ESDC, as you may have heard them, are the funder for this program. And our role is to ensure that we know all the parameters of the program, we're making sure we're sticking to them. And we also do the processing of all the grants. So my role is to ensure that I'm getting that funding out to you, the employers, as I'm receiving your applications. So together, that sort of makes CAF and partners. And we will be doing this program again, as I said, until March 31st, 2024. So let me tell you just a little bit more about what's included in the program. So employers who have less than 500 paid employees, so 499 or less paid employees, you're called small to medium enterprises for the purpose of this program, are eligible to receive $5,000 for hiring a first-year apprentice in one of the 39 eligible trades. And we'll go through what those 39 eligible trades are as well. If you hire an apprentice who's in an equity deserving group, which we'll discuss later too, you would receive $10,000. This money is to help offset the initial cost of hiring a new person. So, you get your mentor time, you might have some health and safety training, you might have safety gear or equipment that you want to make available to your apprentice. You might want to assist in I don't know, accommodations for block training, any of that kind of stuff can be covered through this funding. It's yours. Once you receive it, you do what you want to do with it. It can help offset wages if you want to, but ultimately it's to help with some of those initial onboarding costs. You are able to receive the grant for 2 apprentices per fiscal year. So as I said, the first year is kind of done now, but you could have 2 more apprentices in the following year, starting April 1st. So 1 more year to get some folks in. And again, I'm just going to do I'm not going to do all this math here for you, but if you were to hire 2 apprentices in the next year, you could receive $20,000 if both of them were from an equity priority group. This math here says 40,000 because my slideshow is from kind of the whole program, but moving forward, it'll just be 20,000 left available. Okay, so the equity deserving groups include women, Indigenous peoples, newcomers, persons with disabilities, visible minorities, and folks in the LGBTQ2+ community. If you wanted a definition of what we mean by each of those categories, certainly that's available, but these are what we're referring to as the equity deserving groups for the purposes of this program. And again, you would receive $10,000 for those folks. The way that it works in terms of how we understand if the person belongs to a particular group is that your apprentice will register as well, and they will fill out a document that just discloses whether or not they belong to a group. It's a self-disclosure that's voluntarily done by the apprentice. We don't look to see if there's, say, a status card or what their status in Canada is or anything like that. It's really just if the apprentice says they belong to a group, then we say, okay, and that's $10,000. Okay, so here are some of the eligible construction trades. I'm not going to read them all to you. You will be receiving a package after this webinar, either kind of later this week or early next week that will give you all of these trades. Just one thing I do want to point out that not a lot of people sort of instinctively look at is that landscape horticulturalist is also grouped in construction. So there probably aren't any employers here from landscaping, but if you snuck in, landscaping horticulturalist is in there as well. There are manufacturing trades as well. The reason I'm showing you today in a construction-oriented webinar is that cabinet maker is in there. So if you were to hire a cabinet maker, even though it's listed under manufacturing, totally fine if it's in residential construction or industrial commercial construction, no problem. Cabinet maker works. Also, millwright can kind of go either way in construction or manufacturing. So I just wanted to point that out for you. So CAF has some additional benefits for employers. As I mentioned, there are 19 of us service providers across the country. It's going to be the same in terms of the time frame that the program's available, the money that's available, the trades are all the same. Also, the application process is the same. What's different about us, though, is we offer wraparound services in addition to the grant that you may want to take advantage of. So these are the unique pieces that CAF offers that you may not find with other service providers. Now, they may have their own versions of wraparound services, and certainly I would encourage you to check them out to see if there's a service provider that's maybe more appropriate for you or is located in your area and is easier to use. But certainly CAF has these pieces that are just a little bit different and unique value adds that we like to offer. So the first one is a complimentary matching service. ApprenticeSearch.com had an existing platform where they matched employers with apprentices in their area. So it goes by region and it goes by trade. We also have job developers that work with you to get good connections. So it's not just an algorithm that sort of matches you up. There are real humans on the back end trying to make sure that it is a good match. So we wanted to ensure that if you're looking for an apprentice and you do want to use the program and you think I really could use some extra people, but I'm having a hard time finding them, this matching platform can assist you in finding a person in your area and in your trade. So we're very excited about that. The other thing we offer is complimentary access to a mentorship course and a mentorship app for your apprentices and your journey persons. This is the one that I'm particularly excited about because I know sometimes in the beginning, especially if you're a journey person who's a new mentor and maybe you haven't had an apprentice before, this program allows you to see sort of the 6 competencies that are important for transfer of knowledge. It's self-directed, it's online, it's about 2 hours long, and it just walks the mentor through some of the skills that we find are particularly helpful. And it was a research-oriented program. So we did do a lot of research. Well, SkillPlan did, not CAF didn't. SkillPlan did a lot of research first with BuildForce to determine what are the competencies that make people a great mentor and how can we shape them into a program. And so SkillPlan and BuildForce have created this program. The journey people or mentor, if it's not a journey person that does your mentoring, goes through the program and feel better able to transfer knowledge to their mentor. The apprentice on the other end also has options to use this program so that they can learn, how to ask good questions, how to get the most out of your training, how to ensure that you're receiving feedback that is actually really helpful in gaining the skills that you need to move forward. And then once the apprentice and the journey person or mentor have completed this kind of 2 to 3 hour training, depending on how fast they go through it, they have access to a mentorship app as well. And so, and they do automatically get registered for these things. So we're going to send them a pin as soon as you register and as soon as your apprentice gets registered. And then automatically they have access to this mentorship course. And then as soon as the course is done, they'll have access to the app. And what the app does is allow the apprentice to go through their competencies for their trade that are already built into the system. And they can ask for feedback from their mentor. They can also ask for their mentor to kind of check off when they're done that competency. It doesn't replace the logbook, but it can give you a log printout at the end of, say, that first year to sort of easily go through a logbook and check off all the competencies. So it helps to stay organized. It also allows for the apprentice and the mentor to provide feedback and ask questions in electronic format, especially for folks who are maybe nervous to ask questions in person or maybe haven't had a lot of feedback in person yet and aren't really sure how to deal with it. The electronic format allows them to have conversations in a space that can sometimes feel just a little bit less intimidating. So it might allow them to have maybe more honest conversations than they might if it was face-to-face. So anyway, I'm very excited about the app. I think it's so cool, and it is additional to the grant itself. We also have additional complementary training for the employer and existing employees. So we do have working in a respectful workplace, understanding systemic racism, and construction ethics. And these are just additional to your regular sort of HR onboarding processes, especially if you're looking to diversify your workforce. Some of these courses can be really helpful in ensuring that you're building, welcoming and safe spaces for people that might be different from folks that you've hired in the past. So we have made those available. Again, they're complimentary. All of these services, the matching service, you choose to use it or not, the rest of them, you do get automatically registered for them, and then you can use them as you see fit. Lastly, we have complimentary essential skills training. Again, these are all through Skill Plan and Build Force. The essential skills training is called Build Your Skills. Skill Plan has had it for quite some time, and it's for apprentices who may be not comfortable with or not confident in some of their essential skills. So things like numeracy or like ratios, for example, percentages, measurements, things that you would use on a very regular basis on most construction sites that sometimes folks don't feel that comfortable in. These essential skills programs allow for the apprentices on their own, online, to sort of build up some of that capacity as they're able to, kind of at home or wherever. So these are all of the additional services that we have available to you as soon as you register for the grant, and you can use them as you need to as you go through sort of the program, and they're all available until the end of the grant. So you've got the whole year to use these programs that we'll make available to you. So let's say I thought, yeah, I would love to receive $5,000 or $10,000 to hire a new apprentice. I need a new person. This all sounds fantastic. How would I do it? The first thing you're going to do is go to apprenticesearch.com/cast to register. So that's the Apprentice Search website. You're going to fill out just a little tiny registration page. There's actually not that much information on it. I've done a lot of government programs before, and this one probably has the least amount of information that I've ever asked for. So that's great. So you're going to complete the registration form. You're going to get contacted by a job developer from apprenticesearch.com. They're going to ask you to do a couple of documents. One of them is a sub-agreement. That's basically an agreement between you and us that says, yes, I will follow the rules. Yes, I'll be sure to train my apprentice. Yes, I'll make sure that they get a mentor. And also it says that you will not work with another service provider during the time that you're working with us. Once you choose a service provider for the year, that's kind of the person that or the group that you're with. The reason for that is that we need to ensure that employers are just using the program for 2 apprentices a year. So we need to be able to track. We also just want to make sure that you're getting the kind of best service, and the easiest way to do that is to keep you with 1 service provider. So that is part of the sub-agreement. We're also going to ask you for an electronic funds transfer document so that we can pay you, because we do all the payments through direct deposit. And we're going to ask you for your training agreement as well, or your sponsorship document, whatever it's called in your province or territory. But ultimately, it's the agreement that says that you've sponsored that apprentice in a particular trade, and it'll give the indenture date. So one thing, though, to just make absolutely sure you do is register with us before you register your apprentice with your jurisdictional authority. The reason for that is that it's not a retroactive program, it's a move forward program. And so we as service providers have a mandate to make sure that you register with us first and then register your apprentice. So if nothing else sticks from today, that's the thing that I need to stick is register with us, then register your apprentice. Okay, so once you've done all that, your apprentice is also going to register on apprenticesearch.com, because that's how we know whether or not they belong to an equity deserving group. So their sheet, again, super fast, not a lot on there. It's really just their name, the company they're working for, and then whether or not they belong to one of the equity deserving groups. Once you both are registered, we are going to give your journey person and your apprentice pins to get into that mentorship course. And we do want to at least see that they have registered for the course and that they've started it. And then once I receive your application, I will release the funds. So basically you register, your apprentice registers, we give you guys the pins, and you get at least registered for your mentorship course. And then we'll approve the funding and send it your way. We do hope that your journey person and your apprentice completes that mentorship training, because we do want to ensure that that initial onboarding process and relationship building is as successful as possible. Okay, so that's essentially how you do it. Again, if you have any questions, you will be receiving a package at the end, you know, in the next few days after this webinar that walks you through how to apply. There's a little checklist that kind of shows you how to go through the process. All of the contact information to ask questions is on there as well. So certainly you can reach out to us at any time if you have any questions about the program. You're also going to get an FAQ document that walks through some of the questions you might have about what if the union indentures my my apprentice, what happens then? Again, if a union indentures your apprentice, you still, wherever the payroll is who receives the grant. So if your company is paying that apprentice, the money will come to you. Okay, so that's maybe just an important note. I've had lots of people ask me about the union. The other thing too is that if you are, say, a subsidiary of a larger, like, conglomerate, for example, it's if your payroll is housed within your subsidiary or within your individual department, you would be eligible as well. So some of those questions are answered in the FAQ. Okay, if you'd like to register, it's apprenticesearch.com/CAS, or we also have this toll-free number that you can call to ask any questions. Okay, and again, these are just our project partners. We're working with the Aboriginal Apprenticeship Board, apprenticesearch.com, Build Forest, Canadian Construction Association, and Skill Plan. And again, this is funded through the Government of Canada or ESDC. Okay, so that is it for my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing now. That's it for the program. Again, you can ask me questions at any time, and you will receive a whole bunch of information in the next few days.
Okay, Stephanie, thank you so much. Now we're going to turn our attention to Brett. Have a little discussion with you because you've been through this process. But first, maybe could you just share a little bit about yourself or Aaron Machine Shop, like how long the company's been around, how many employees, and even your company's connection with the construction industry who's watching you here today.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Brett Butler. I'm the owner and president of Aaron Machine Shop. We are, broadly speaking, a repair and service and manufacturing business that does manual machining, CNC machining, water jet plate cutting, welding and fabrication, millwright servicing, cylinder repair, and then a bunch of on-site services with all those as well. So we've been in business for just over 25 years. We have about 55 non-union employees. Just going through some of the trades that we use, we employ machinists, we employ millwrights, and we employ welders as well. So we do a lot of different industries here in Alberta. You know, there's a lot of energy and oil and gas work. That might be 20-25% of our business. But we do oil and gas, we do packaging, we do transportation and logistics, of course, some construction as well. So it's a pretty broad base of services and broad base of industries that we cover. On the construction industry in specific, we make a lot of like mounting plates. We make a lot of heavier stuff for kind of crane companies. We also do quite a bit of fabrication as well. So we'll make like stairs, enclosures, boxes, skids, things like that. So and then there's also some machine components that we make. And then we also do the servicing side as well. So we do installations for some of our fabricated components on site. So we're often on construction sites as well. And then our millwrights, you know, they're more so in facilities, production facilities, factories, that sort of stuff. But the odd construction project, they'll come out for some reason or another. But yeah, I mean, we're a diverse business. Construction is definitely part of what we do. But yeah, we do a lot. That's kind of our service offering, is a complete solution. So always hiring and looking for talented people.
Right. Okay. So that perfect segue there. So thank you. So let's talk about your introduction to this particular grant program. And just maybe you can tell us a little bit about what registering for the grant was like for you, how you described that kind of process from the website to
Yep.
getting it rolling? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the program was actually sent over to me from my head millwright, and he
Oh.
was notified. Yeah, he was notified by our kind of trade institution here, SAIT, Southern Alberta Institute Technology.
Yeah.
And we're pretty close with them. We have a lot of trades going back and forth, and they're a customer of ours. So they actually introduced us to this program, encouraged us to enroll in it. And then, so I read up on it, followed the links that were sent over for apprentice search. And yeah, I'll agree with Stephanie. Like, I mean, I look after our tax and a lot of government stuff. And I'd say this was a very easy one compared to some of the other government programs that you go through owning a business. So yeah, it was pretty easy. I mean, I registered online. It was like registering for anything else. Like, they asked for some of your information, pretty basic stuff. I had no issues with that. The other forms they sent over, there was only a few of them. Again, just like getting insurance or, purchasing a piece of equipment or anything, like, this was all pretty easy, straightforward stuff. So yeah, I just did it all online over, probably a few hours tops. And then I think we were all ready to go.
So if I was to ask, how long would you say it took to go through that process from completing the forms, which you say didn't take very long, and then receiving the funds? I mean, somewhere in the middle, you had the apprentices. Yeah.
I mean, if you really wanted to, you could probably get it done in 2 to 3 weeks, would be my guess. I didn't know what the program kind of was. Like, it would take me 2 to 3 weeks now because I've done it twice. But I had actually a lot of questions about the timing of when you can enroll an apprentice, because we probably have 7 or 8 apprentices at our shop at any moment in time. And I didn't understand if it was for active apprentices or new ones you hire, or I guess employees that you want to enroll in an apprenticeship program. So the 2 employees that we picked last year were actually kind of general laborers or operators that we saw potential in. And so we encouraged them to actually enroll in their apprenticeship program, get their blue book, kind of take their trade more seriously, get a proper education with it. So our 2 candidates were actually in-house, who we wanted to upgrade their skill set. And that's where this program kind of pushed us to actually say, hey, go and do this. We get a little bit of a nudge from the government. We need more skilled trades. The unskilled trades seem to be the easier stuff to hire. So yeah, that gave us the push.
Well, that's awesome. So from internally, you got these people into the Red Seal program, like ultimately in that direction.
Yeah.
So then the paperwork, again, I think Stephanie mentioned for the apprentice themselves, it's a pretty straightforward form to fill out. And then receiving the funds.
Yeah.
How long is that process?
Yeah. It just, there was, I think, 2 things that they had to go through, both the apprentice and the journey person who would be sponsoring them.
Right.
That was signing up on the apprentice search website or registering. And then they had to do the courses on BuildForce, which were also pretty straightforward and easy as well. It was probably maybe half a day's work for each, the apprentice and the journey person. So once I had my paperwork done, which I'm done now, that maybe took half a day each for each person, the trade person, the journeyman, and then the funds were like a few days later once I submitted everything. So yeah, it was really good. Like, I'll be doing it twice more this year for sure, because I'm allowed another 2 candidates into this year.
Right. Okay. And then, of course, they have to be first year apprentices. Right.
Yeah, they have to be,
okay.
Like, they have to be not an apprentice, and then you sign up for everything, and then kind of you work with your job developer on the timing of it to make sure, like, hey, we're all registered with Apprentice Search, we're all kind of good to go. Okay, now they can go and register for their apprentice courses and get their blue book, and then start that process. So That's one other thing that I would say in compliment. We had Laura Wells as our job developer, and she was really, really good. Like, she answered a lot of my first questions,
Okay.
especially about timing, because I wanted to get it right. I was like, okay, we want to
Yeah.
do this. I want to be able to access the grant. And I leaned on her pretty hard when I was first enrolling in this. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Shout out to Laura. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've received the funding.
Mhm.
So can you share how you're using the grant, or whether or not it's made a positive difference in the, I guess, the process of hiring and onboarding?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we use it as a retention tool for some of our employees, where, again, if you have those employees that are interested in upgrading their education, eventually getting paid more, you show them a path to making more money and building their career. I'm of the view that they're going to stay around for longer. So it's been a great retention tool for us. Again, it's pushed us to actually get those students enrolled. And then the big one on the cost side for us is it's the indirect cost of your journey person actually spending the training time to teach them that trade. It's a hard one to gauge or put a number on, but it's a very real cost. I mean, your best journey people are, they're meant to go out there and make you money for your business, and to pull them off that and to train someone for even a few hours a day, that is a very real cost for an employer. So, if you have a $5,000 or $10,000 grant, the way I kind of think about it is, in my head, over, it just buys you training time for a few months, which helps justify sending that person to school.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. Okay, I'm just thinking here about other employers in the trades looking to use this program, access these grants for their own hiring. Were there like any surprises that you came across? I know you had some help, obviously.
Yep.
So what was
Yeah.
maybe the most challenging part for you?
Yeah, probably, like, once I got the timing understood, just because there are so many programs out there, like Alberta has its own kind of program. And just, again, once I figured that out, it was probably, and I don't have a trades background. I'm a business person. So part of this was on me, but I had to understand the kind of the trade association in Alberta and how to get registered through that. And that was one part where Laura wasn't really helpful for that. And that's okay. That's not her expertise. But she was kind of like, no, you need to go through, and you do need to show me that now that person is registered. So you do need an official document, and going through that process. I just wasn't familiar with it. I leaned on my best journey people to help me through that process. And they ended up having to do some of the paperwork as well to get the blue book sign off and all that sort of stuff set up to kick off your red seal. But a lot of the best journey people, they've probably done that a few times before for apprentices. But for me, that was one where I kind of had to figure out on my own.
Maybe in closing, is there any, I don't know, anything else that you'd like to add to maybe help employers to understand the value that they can get out of this program, and maybe just make them decide to give it a shot if they haven't already?
Yeah, I mean, like, we have a constant difficulty finding skilled trades. And while we can get some in the door through job postings like Indeed or search firms, we have really rotated to some training on the ground and here at our shop. So, I think it has helped our business. Again, with the retention side, getting people to enroll. And, my hope is that with bringing apprentices through our business, we're going to be able to alleviate some of the staffing problems for skilled trades that are chronic in Alberta. It's just a part of doing business. So it's helped us take training more seriously. I think before, I don't know when, maybe 20 years ago or something, but I think employers might have been spoiled with the amount of skilled trades that were available out there. And it's definitely not like that, at least in Alberta anymore. So training is being taken a lot more seriously at Air Machine Shop. And this is just another funding source for it. So I'm a business owner, and I would encourage everyone to do it.
Okay, that's awesome. I think everyone here appreciates you taking the time today to actually share this message and to share your journey, because
Mhm.
That's hopefully what they're all looking to get involved with. That's why they've joined us here today. Okay, well, thank you both, and we've got you here. So we've got quite a few questions. Stephanie, does this program, does it apply if we hired new employees in 2022, or is it only for new hires? You can, Brett kind of gave us an example of what he did, but yeah.
They can be your employees. So if they were, say, a general laborer, or they're just not your apprentice yet, that's fine. They just can't be an existing apprentice. So if they've worked with you and they're a general laborer and you're thinking, you know what, I definitely like this person, they're doing very well, then certainly you can transition them after you register with us. That part's really important, into an apprentice, but they can't already be an existing apprentice with your company.
Right, okay. And this person asked, if the apprentice was hired before April 1st, can we still submit a claim for them?
Yeah, I get
Well,
it. To see, like,
yeah.
so that you can get 2 more the next year. It really, again, it's when you register for our program and then indenture your apprentice. So unfortunately, this fiscal year really is done. So everyone in this webinar would have access to 2 more apprentices moving forward.
Right, okay. Someone asked specifically about in the red seal trades, I think there's refrigeration mechanic, and then they're asking, does it include the 313D designation? That might be a little specific, and I don't know if you can address that.
I mean, I've seen it in a few different ways because the different provinces and territories have different names for things. So as long as within your province or territory, you're calling it a refrigeration and AC mechanic, or even I've seen refrigeration mechanic is fine, because they're not all provinces and territories use sort of a universal name for all of the like, for example, horticultural technician is called a landscape horticulturalist in other provinces, and I've just bundled them all together.
Okay, I think you addressed this one, but I'm going to ask it. If you hire from a union hall, are you still eligible for this program?
Yes, if you pay. So it's located where the payment comes from. So if the union hall indentures the apprentice, but then you hire them, right? And you do the payment part, then that's where the grant goes. So I would say for most cases, the union isn't usually the one paying. So generally it would be the contractor or the company that would be eligible for the grant. We would just need to see a document, and some unions will give you a document that says that you're like the employer kind of sponsor. So we would just in some way need to see a document that states that the apprentice has been indentured. So even if you could get the training agreement from the union hall, that would be fine.
Okay. Daryl here is asking, and this kind of falls into Brett's situation, I think. Can this grant be retroactive? For example, someone you hired 6 months ago, we've recently hired a shop laborer and is interested in a trade.
Yes. Yep. As long as they're not already your apprentice. So shop laborer sounds like no, they're not an apprentice yet. So as long as they're not currently indentured to your organization as an apprentice or to a union hall, then yes, that would be fine.
Natalie is asking, Brett, you might be able to answer this. Is this a tax credit or do they send a check?
Yeah, no, it goes directly into your account. Like that's they get one of the forms is actually a banking form, so it just goes directly into your account.
Yeah, it's just
Right.
direct deposit.
Yeah.
So Brett, from a
super simple.
From a business perspective, from a tax perspective for your business?
Yeah.
Where does that?
Yeah, I think you have to claim it as income would be my guess. Yeah, but yeah,
it is taxable income. So you would work with your accountant just to make sure that that you are paying the tax on it appropriately, but it does count as taxable income.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay, okay. What if we already have apprentices signed up? Again, it might be too late. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, if they're already your apprentices, then sadly, we've kind of missed out on this time. But if you're hiring more apprentices moving forward, or if you've got some folks that are, you know, on the shop floor or general laborers or whatever you call them in your place, and you believe that they could be great journey people for you one day, or at least apprentices in the meantime, we'd love to give you the funding to transfer them over. But yes, your existing apprentices will not be eligible.
Okay. On the application side, Arnold is asking, you said to send in the copy of the training agreement. However, later you said to register with CAS before registering our employee as an apprentice. We just hired 2 new employees and immediately signed them up as an apprentice. I'm hearing that we wouldn't be eligible. Does that make sense?
Correct. Yeah. So we do need the training agreement eventually, but you need to register with us first. So unfortunately, if those folks are already your apprentices, then sadly we wouldn't be able to do the grant for them. I'm so sorry. I hate telling people that. I know it's terrible to hear, but it's rules that I didn't make, if that makes a difference. I just have to enforce them. Yeah, unfortunately, if they're already your apprentices, that's not going to work for this program for right now. But we do eventually, the reason we say we'll need your training agreement is we just want people to know that once you've registered with us, you're not quite done, because we do still need to see that you have in fact registered your person as an apprentice with your jurisdictional authority. Otherwise, anyone could register with us and we'd just be giving $5,000 or $10,000 all over the place without knowing if the person is a real apprentice. So we need to do that due diligence.
Okay. Is the employee maximum of 499 of total number of employees in a company, office workers included, or the total in the trade?
Total in the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
So office workers are included. But I do want to be clear though, because I know many companies will have sort of a head sort of company, and then they'll have divisions or subsidiaries that work separately. If your division or your subsidiary works independently, and has its own payroll system that's housed within that division would still be eligible if it had 499 or less. So I know construction in particular tends to have a lot of situations where there's multiple tiers. So if your tier has 499 or less, and that's what's included in your payroll, we could still do it.
Okay. Brett, I'm not sure if you can answer this. Does a CNC machinist fit in with the machinist under the umbrella?
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, Nicole is asking if we already have participated in the last year and now have 2 new apprentices to submit for, do we still have to start over on the application process or just submit the employee information? Also, in order to hire in the plumbing trade, the employee has to already be registered with AIT. So we can't register with apprenticesearch.com first. Does that cause issues?
I see what you mean. So each apprentice gets their own sub-agreement unless you're hiring both of them at the exact same time, and then we can do that sub-agreement at the same time. You wouldn't need to redo your EFT or any of that, or if your mentor is going to be the same mentor and they've already done the training, they wouldn't need to do that again. Oh, I see. Okay, so with SAT, your apprentice would need to, or SAIT, I guess, because your apprentice needs to sign up for that educational component first, right? Is how it works in Alberta, I think. They sign up. Brett, is that correct? Where they sign out, your apprentice signs up for the educational, there's a little booklet thing that they need to fill out, the educational form with SAIT.
Yeah, like they definitely have to go through SAIT to get registered, but yeah, I'm not sure. Like
no, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I'm not as familiar with, I'm very familiar with how the Ontario process works, because that's where I'm located and that's where I've done apprenticeship related services for a very long time. I'm not as familiar with each province and territory in terms of exactly how their registration process works. I know with Alberta, what I've seen is that there's an educational form that the apprentice fills out first, and then they attach their kind of sponsor to that form. So if that's what you're asking, Nicole.
Yeah, they are linked, like the mentor and apprentice, like they have to do it in lockstep with each other. can't really do one without the other, at least in Alberta. But I mean, I think if you ask Sate or Nate, they're going to be able to walk you through that. Just don't do it until you have registered with Apprentice Search and all that.
Yeah, so Nicole, what I would suggest is still register with apprenticesearch.com and talk to your job developer about where you are in the process so that we can see if we can make it work for you, because we want to make sure that it is working for employers. So if the jurisdictional authority has a process that doesn't necessarily work the same as everybody else for your particular trade, we'll still try and figure out if there's a way that we can stay within the rules of the program but still allow for you to have the grant. So I would say register on apprenticesearch.com. Like, just, you could go there now and put your name in. You don't even need to have an apprentice in mind. And then you could connect with a job developer to see what do we need to do for plumbers in Alberta to make sure that you're still eligible.
Someone is asking if they're a professional in project management, may they participate or not?
None of the service trades, unfortunately, are in there. It's just the 39 construction and manufacturing plus landscaping snuck in. But those are the only trades that are available in the program. So when you get the list of trades in the next couple of days, just check and see if yours is on there. If it's not on there, sadly, we can't make exceptions for other trades. It has to be those specific 39.
Right. Someone missed this part, but does this apply to first year apprentices only? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we kind of addressed this. They have to be a new hire or just a new apprentice. It's a new apprentice, correct?
Yeah.
We have a journeyman welder who wants to start the construction electrical apprenticeship program. So already registered as an apprentice. Does he qualify?
If it's a different trade, he would qualify. So if he's moving from welding to, did you say
electrical, construction electrical?
Yeah. So if he's moving from welding to construction electrician, that's fine, because he would then be in a different, like, he would be the first year in kind of the other trade.
Small town here. This is Kim. We're having a hard time finding anyone. Do we apply anyway? Then when we find a person, they apply to apprenticeship. Then we contact you again once we find someone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend, if you even think that you might be hiring an apprentice in the near future, register with apprenticesearch.com so that we can get that sub agreement done. And then you can sign up your apprentice whenever, because we'll be for sure following the right process. So, and also you can use their matching platform. That's the other thing, is if you don't have your apprentice yet and you think you're going to hire one, why not register? And then you can use their platform.
Okay. Now, someone here, I think you might be letting them down, but so to be clear, we have 2 newly signed apprentices, late 2022 and one in February 2023, in the ministry training system with agreements in place. And this program is not retroactive to us as an employer sponsor, since they're already signed up.
Correct.
Yeah. Sorry, anonymous attendee, I'm afraid. I
know that's the worst part of my job, is telling people. Unfortunately, it's a little bit late. I hate it, guys. I do. I hate it. Okay.
Well, are federal government departments eligible for these grants? I don't know.
If government departments who hire apprentices would be eligible for the grant, there's no stipulation on who the employer is. So as long as the employer is eligible to hire apprentices, and they're under 499 paid employees, that's fine.
Do we have to wait for the profile to be approved to tell our apprentices to sign up?
To tell your apprentices to sign up for apprenticesearch.com? No. To tell your apprentices to register for their apprenticeship, yeah, wait till you hear from a job developer and then register your apprentices with your jurisdictional authority. But they can register for Apprentice Search while you're in sort of the pending process.
We have a quick question. How has the uptake been in the equity deserving groups category? Stephanie, maybe you can Can you
We're
tell
just-
us that?
Yeah, just over 50%. So our target for our program was actually 25%. And we are thrilled that it's just over, we're just about 51% right now of folks are from equity deserving groups. So we're thrilled. We're thrilled to see that these trades are diversifying and people from all different groups are getting in. And again, that too also will help with some of the gaps in finding apprentices and employees, is broadening that search and including more groups.
Here's actually one of our HRAI colleagues, Martin, has chimed in, letting us know that the 313D in Ontario is a residential air conditioning program. It is not included because it is not yet red seal. This is so, Heather, and this is just so everyone can hear this, especially in the Toronto area. She's an employment case counselor at Wood Green Community Service in Toronto. Wood Green offers a free apprenticeship in plumbing program. Please confirm that our program will not affect employers being able to register for apprenticeship grants. This is a pre-apprenticeship program, right? So this will not affect.
No, I wouldn't think so, because largely, actually, your program probably would benefit from knowing about this grant, because if you've got any employment targets related to your program, which usually they do in terms of the career sort of services part, this would be an excellent program to make sure that you're letting your students know about, but you're also letting your employers know about, so that when they hire folks out of your pre-apprenticeship program, they can receive the $5,000 or $10,000. So because most pre-apprenticeship programs, you wouldn't have the students indentured until after. So so it shouldn't affect your program at all, unless your employers are sponsoring students before they come to the program, but that's not generally how I've seen pre-apprenticeship programs work. So you should be fine. Actually, this should be an added value for you.
Someone's asking, so this is, I think, a potential apprentice is asking, where can an apprentice find a hiring company?
Oh, to
company
find
to hire them.
Well, you can register for apprenticesearch.com, see if you can find an employer that way. But additionally, so certainly do that. Additionally, most regions will have an employment services center, or several, depending on the size of your population, that are funded through your province or territory. So Ontario, for example, has Employment Ontario. Manitoba has Employment Manitoba. So all provinces and territories tend to have funded employment centers that will work with apprentices, will work with employers to help find each other in that area. And they will help with things like resume writing, cover letters, interview skills. They'll get you connected and do a little bit of advocacy. So certainly I would look for employment service centers, and I would use those terms. That's generally with Google how you find them in your area. I just want to take a sec, because I didn't do the shout out, and I want to make sure that I do. We do have the folks from Support Ontario Youth here with us today. And they work with employers. They do sort of group training, actually, and they've had some really great successes. So they're with us today. They also help to do some of the registration process for us with the CAF. So CAF and partners are working with Support Ontario Youth as well to help employers go through this process. So just wanted to do a shout out, because they are here with us today.
Okay, great. So someone from BC here is saying, just so I'm clear, there's many groups out there that you can choose to apply for the grant. This person's in BC. He first heard about this program from the Canadian Building and Trades Union. But CAF is just is one of, I think we said it's 19 groups.
Yeah.
And so just to be clear, that we have the option, it's up to us which group we choose to decide to do the paperwork with. That's basically what they're asking. Yeah.
Employers can choose whoever they want. In BC, there's a BCCA, Okanagan College. We're out there because we're everywhere, so we're countrywide. Right. And CBTU and CLAC are countrywide as well. So lots of us out there, but certainly you choose whoever makes the most sense for you.
Someone's asking, does newcomer apply to Ukrainian refugees?
Newcomer applies to anyone who would state that they are a newcomer to Canada. So that one is actually based on how the apprentice would describe themselves.
Okay.
So certainly I would suggest that a Ukrainian refugee would certainly be a newcomer. I would for sure put them in that category. But again, it's up to how your apprentice describes themselves.
Okay, fair enough. What happens if the apprentice leaves before completing their apprenticeship?
Oh, there's actually not a retention piece on this. So once we give you the grant, it's yours. We don't claw it back later. We know that relationships can sort of fall apart a little bit. We hope that they don't. The intention is for them to stay. Certainly that's the preference. But we know sometimes things go awry and we don't claw the money back.
Okay. Is there a cost to register with CAF?
No, no, there's not a cost to register for this program. If you wanted to be a member of CAF, there's a cost, and there's all kinds of benefits, and I could tell you about that another day because we're 2 minutes over. But no, there's no cost to apply for this grant.
Okay. And again, someone asked, are limited to under 500 employees? Yes, that is the case. Okay. Companies under 5 employees will not qualify? This person's asking?
Yep, you would qualify. You'd be classified as a micro employer, but yep, anyone, like any organization, you could have one person. I actually have had one come through that had one, and this is their very first hire is this apprentice. So that's fine.
Okay, Simon asked, does this apply to hiring 2nd or 3rd year apprentices? No, 1st year only.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone has already registered for an apprentice that leaves their place of employment and wants to start with us, but they've already registered as an apprentice. They leave their place of employment. They want to join us. Are they, I guess if they're a 1st year, are they still eligible? No, right?
They would be because they're not
Oh.
already indentured with that organization. So there is sort of an anti-poaching built in, so they can't still be working with the first organization. We're certainly not providing funds to take someone's apprentice, but if they leave that first organization and you haven't indentured them yet, then you could hire them through this program.
Brett can answer this one. Is the mentor training online, and how long is that to complete?
Yes, it's online. That's through BuildForce. And yeah, I mean, I would say a few hours, like maybe mark half a day. You could probably get it done. Yeah.
Okay. Is there more money available for LGBTQ2S plus apprentices?
They would fall into the equity deserving group. So
Right.
You would receive the 10,000 instead of the 5.
This is the Alberta, kind of clarifying, I think, the question from earlier, Nicole. AIT means apprenticeship and industry training. And in Alberta, they have to have an identifier number before we can hire them. Does that make that any more clear?
Okay, so what we would need to see then, Nicole, is if they've already got an identifier number, we would just need to see, I think there's like an approval that would then happen once they attach you as an employer to the to that. It's an education, I can't remember the name of the form, but I've definitely sent it to people before, to their sort of education form that they sign up for. There's like a place where they can put their sponsor on, and that's what we would need to see is once you've received that document, or once your apprentice actually is probably the one that will receive that document that then identifies you as an employer. That's what we would be looking for.
Okay. Again, someone asked, they missed this, but is there a cap on how many apprentices you can register or receive funding for per year? Yes, it is
2.
2. Okay. Within this calendar year, which, like you said, begins April as well. Is that
April 1st.
So when does this program stop running, as far as we know?
April, March 31st, 2024. So you've got 1 full year left.
Okay. And with that, thank you to everyone who joined us today. And thank you, Stephanie and Brett, especially for participating in today's webinar. We have gone a little over time, but you know what? Some great questions, and people want to know this information. And I think that's really good. Someone even in the question part said, I will be hiring. So that's great to hear.
Awesome.
And I know I learned some things today, and I hope the employers in our audience have a better understanding. of how to take advantage of this hiring incentive program, the grant program that's available to you. Again, I have to say thank you to our sponsors for today for making this webinar possible. That was Avetta and GC Pay. Thanks again. Bye for now.